Imagine this. The following to some may seem like a fictional portrayal of the future, to others it may seem as a premonition of things to come. As all thought is creative on various levels of manifestation, the very act of visualizing a reality in your imagination, especially one that is in alignment with your heart's desire and in the alignment with the desire of many other souls on this planet. This is a creative effect toward the manifestation of that reality upon the collective consciousness everyone on Earth shares. Therefore this creates a potential future timeline different than the timeline course the Earth is presently experiencing and the direction it is heading. When truth is disclosed, it is a means of resonating within each of us, and therefore has power far greater than a lie. This story or vision is meant to seed your imagination in visualizing our planet in the future, in which children from this future time are historically studying and looking back at the past challenges that all of Earth's people faced, that were perpetrated by a small group of people who attempted to control the entire world through deception. Through our collective awakened spiritual awareness, exposed their deception and caused their plan to fail, which stopped the further destruction of the planet. This ushered in a wonderful new era for a harmonious civilization for all beings on Earth. Our story begins in a time in our not-too-distant future, in a very different world than today. Children studying the history of our evolution here on planet Earth will look back with a clear and accurate account of historical events from the very origin and beginnings of the human race on Earth. From this future perspective looking back through time, the entire planet is now thriving, living in harmony and abundance with all beings on this planet, as well as interactions with established relations with other advanced off-planet peaceful civilizations. As these children reviewed the past historical record archives of mankind from the great vast depository library of the future, they observed how the human race struggled to evolve amongst the deceptive and manipulative elements of the past that challenged mankind's spiritual growth and understanding through the great expanses of Earth's history. Looking far back historically through time revealed how the early primitive interpretations were made of interactions with off-planet cultures that originally spawned Earth religions. This as well as early inaccurate scientific concepts from the then imprecise observations, such as believing the Earth to be flat and being at the center of the universe, to the eventual current and universal acceptance that the universe has always been filled with many various life forms outside of our planet. Some of these off-world cultures have greatly evolved over millions of years of time, and have been interacting with us since the very beginning of our presence here on Earth. These other beings have always been with us, but needed before making global contact, for the human race to awaken to the earthly deceptions and the universal spiritual nature of who they are in order to become a peaceful civilization to interact with. The children of this future have learned that their past ancestors and the many wars since antiquity that have been done by humans in their attempt to control and dominate over others, first started with primitive weaponry of swords, arrows and eventually bullets and cannons. In the 20th and 21st centuries as technology advanced, greater weapons of mass destruction were created including thermonuclear, chemical and biological, to name a few. While an enormous amount of money was dedicated to the science of killing people, many people on the planet were impoverished and starving. With the world operating upon a universal monetary exchange system, the vast majority of wealth on the planet came into the control of an organized group of individuals that were able to deceive most of the world and maintain their power through secrecy and expand their wealth at the cost of adversely affecting many lives and the environment. By either placing or replacing individuals that would carry out their agenda in executive management positions of government, they effectively furthered their agenda, while giving the people of the world the illusion that they were in control of those they elected to carry out the will of the people. Through the use of secrecy, they were able to keep their operations hidden from the masses. This extreme secrecy they initially found available through certain avenues in secret societies whose members had to maintain an oath to secrecy. But the greatest avenue of secrecy for them was through the creation of intelligence agencies within the government that required the use of secrecy for their operations. They did this under the auspices for the security of the nation and good of the people, in which they effectively infiltrated and used this national security secrecy instead to hide and conduct all their hidden operations for this group's agenda. Although there were those in high positions who attempted to warn the unsuspecting public, their methods of ridiculing and silencing effectively kept their message from fully reaching the public, which even then, would be unable to comprehend that such activity was occurring. With the expansion of the world's ability to communicate to the masses more effectively, through newspapers, radio and television, the majority of mankind became controlled by this group through deception, predominantly by a new kind of warfare, a warfare of the mind. Through such agencies working in concert with corporations they controlled, they were able to control the distribution of the public's global communications media in order to manipulate their perception to gain the consent of the masses, while their true hidden agendas they carried out remained secret to the public. By understanding how to psychologically engineer consent of the masses, they cleverly crafted psychological deception in order to secretly achieve their objectives. Their true objectives were kept secret and unrealized by the majority of humanity, whose perceptions they manipulated through the education system and the media. As the people of this planet never wanted wars, wars were thus instigated through false flag events which yielded them even greater wealth and moved their agenda forward for greater control of the population with each successive war. The continual creation of enemies and the use of these false flag events led to the perpetuation of ongoing wars and the further impoverishment of the people. They utilized vast surveillance technology by electronically monitoring all of the communications of the people, to know what in their minds they were thinking and therefore know how to control the population. They also controlled other governments as well through covert operations, and suppressed advances in new technological discoveries that would jeopardize their profitable nuclear, oil and coal industries. This kept the people of the world in a technologically retarded state. Through various dogmatic religions they kept the world divided through the suppression of universal spiritual knowledge and the power of consciousness within us. They utilized fear programming in their media entertainment with constant violent imagery of humans killing and hurting other humans, as well as putting fearful images in movies of life outside our planet and science-fictional portrayals. This was done for the psychological support of one of their future planned false flag events that utilizing their anti-gravity craft to hoax an off-world invasion, in order to unite and consolidate the world militaries as one government that they planned to ultimately control. While their control of the media continually suggested that the people of Earth were not alone, the controlled government continually denied to the people that any evidence of extraterrestrial interaction with Earth exists, regardless of the many thousands of people around the planet who have witnessed off-planet craft and even sometimes their occupants visiting Earth. Witnesses that attempted to come forward were discredited or silenced. Government hearings were denied by the attempts to bring hundreds of military and intelligence witnesses with collaborating official documentation to factually prove this reality to the rest of the world. This suppression was done to maintain the secrecy of their hidden operations and advanced technologies. This group in the past had secretly made deals with certain extraterrestrial races and technology exchange programs to further advance their hidden underground civilization, which had rapidly advanced and greatly far surpassed the surface dwellers on the planet. They enjoyed the use of devices that yielded unlimited zero-point energy for power and anti-gravity craft, to name only a few scientific advances, of which they had many in every area of science. All this was funded due to the trillions of dollars they scammed the public out of for their unacknowledged hidden projects. On the surface they maintained a false illusion of needing rockets filled with fuel to go into space, all the while conducting their secret space program with their anti-gravity craft. This kept the majority of people on this planet believing we need oil for transportation and dangerous nuclear and coal power plants for electricity production. Without respect to our beautiful home planet, this group allowed the continual degrading of our environment from enormous amounts of carbon emissions into our atmosphere from vehicles and factories causing the poles to melt, oil spills in our oceans, fracking that polluted our drinking waters, toxic waste dumping in the rivers, and the release from nuclear power plants of highly dangerous radioactive materials damaging life on the planet. This self-serving group only considered the entire human race simply as a resource for their finances and labor. As the population of the planet grew, it became necessary for this group to implement eugenics procedures in order to maintain a much smaller slave force and reduce the population through several methods. They used geoengineering of the weather to devastate areas on the planet and destroy food crops. They genetically modified the world's food supply, so that consumption would sterilize and reduce the lifespan of the population and affect their immune systems to become susceptible to diseases, which provided yet another source of profit. They supplemented this with poisonous fluoride in the water, lab-created diseases and toxic mercury and vaccinations intended to treat these diseases. They filled the beautiful blue skies all over the planet with chemtrails filled with aluminum and barium sprayed from aircraft, which further damaged life on the planet. Many on the planet had become sick and sometimes unhealthily overweight from nutritionally devoid highly processed foods. The medical establishment, made up of doctors that have been educated with the materials provided by the pharmaceutical industry, which treats the symptoms of a host of diseases through the highly profitable prescription of pills, which many times offered serious ill side effects to further degrade health. While at the same time, with their infiltrated agents, suppressed alternative non-profitable breakthrough discoveries in health to the public. In order to maintain these deceptions and keep the people of this planet in a retarded state, they utilized their use of great wealth, influence and infiltration to manipulate the history books and education to hide their past operations to future generations born into their deception. In archaeology, they hid historical evidence of discoveries that would contradict what they disseminated through their science and religious indoctrinated beliefs of mankind's origins. Most importantly was their task to keep the people of this planet separated and divided through the use of fear and religious belief differences, and to deny our common connection of consciousness and the power we have within us to transform the world. They removed and hid much ancient knowledge regarding the laws of creation and consciousness from science, education and religious materials in order to maintain control over the masses through the illusion of separation. The great expanse of personal communication capabilities of the Internet provided them a greater means to monitor the population's communications. It also provided a means for the people of the world to start sharing thoughts outside of their controlled mass media. The people started to assemble the hidden fragments amongst the purposely placed disinformation to more clearly form a picture of the falsely indoctrinated world they have been born into. This awareness was assisted by the testimonies of hundreds of whistleblower witnesses and leaked classified documents that alerted the population to the deception being perpetrated upon them. The turning point. The children of this future, reading our planet's history, realized that this was the start of the turning point for the people of Earth to reclaim their planet from this rogue group in a non-violent manner. As the consciousness of every being on the planet began to be affected by the shared collective consciousness, and through numerous perspectives through the alternative communications medium of the Internet, the patterns of truth and lies started to emerge into greater awareness to reveal the deceptions in this group for what they were. The awareness of these revealed hidden patterns of information exponentially accelerated a spiritual renaissance awakening across the entire collective consciousness of the planet that affected every conscious being. Once the veil had fallen, revealing this group's actions and who they were, the truth became so powerful that deceptions everywhere became obvious and transparent to everyone. The consciousness this spun put the deceivers in a panic, as they had no place to hide and they knew no person would give them shelter for what they have done. The people of Earth understood that they had been deceived and had been pitted one against another based on their manipulated lies. As the human race became awake through the propagation of thought throughout the collective consciousness shared by all living beings and through the understanding of the science of consciousness, thus bringing them the awareness of the continual opportunity in the darkest of times to be able to transform the current agreed-upon reality. This awareness gave us the truth of ourselves as being one with our Creator. We chose to use our creative powers based on truth to expose the deception and transform the world for the good of all humanity. So instead of their planned New World Order, in which they entitled themselves to be the rulers of, instead the world did unite as one world, but to expose and put an end to the centuries of deception and their corrupt influences upon the people of Earth, who universally vowed to never allow this to ever happen again to the people of this planet. And so it began. All the secret classified files that hid this group's operations as well as the extraterrestrial files were released, publicly substantiating their rogue activities and what they tried to keep secret from the world. This global collective awakening affected everyone. Even the Vatican released suppressed hidden information of our true spiritual nature in their archives, such as the knowledge of reincarnation and the omitted books of the Bible. Religious leaders around the world humbled themselves to the undeniable truth and the understanding of our spiritual nature that was revealed to the world, transforming their perception to see the core commonality of all religious faiths of the world, and they were thankful to know the truth. All those who worked within this group's secret projects began to come forward in mass numbers exposing their breakaway civilization with their secret space program as well as all the hidden technologies. Now they no longer had anyone to enforce their secrecy and do their bidding. Secret underground facilities and their operations became exposed for all to see. The technologies within these hidden projects then started to be carefully brought out to help clean up the damage done to this planet. A World Council of accountable, wise and compassionate leaders representing the world's interests helped to oversee the great transition, honoring all life on this planet and the planet itself as a living being. The first transitional technologies were released which allowed the millions of gasoline and diesel vehicles to run exclusively on hydrogen from water with simple onboard conversions. Vehicle production shifted from the inefficient and maintenance-intensive internal combustion engine to all-electric vehicles with onboard power generation that never needed to be plugged in. Eventually these also were replaced by anti-gravity vehicles with onboard power so that roads were no longer needed, and previously inaccessible areas on the planet were then able to be accessed and homesteaded to live without disturbing the natural beauty of the planet. Air transportation was replaced with anti-gravity transport vehicles, recycling all obsolete and polluting jet engine aircraft. Eventually public acceptance of teleportation facilities allowed this method of commuting available as well. All nuclear power plants were immediately decommissioned and retrofitted with zero-point energy power generation to substitute for the dangerous nuclear reactors. Previously classified technologies were used to neutralize all the nuclear waste created by these power plants. Technologies were also available to help clean up and neutralize the leaked radiation in our oceans and groundwater. This initially allowed everyone still connected to the grid to receive clean power during the transition. As energy units rapidly became available for every home and business, this allowed complete disconnection from the grid, leading to the complete removal of all ugly and chemi-susceptible power distribution lines strung across the planet to be recycled. As the chemtrailing ceased, the blue skies once again returned, and now without the ugly power lines no longer in everyone's view. These unlimited, non-polluting and abundant energy devices also allowed for the desalinization of ocean water for irrigation of the world's agriculture and the growing of healthy nature organic food crops to feed everyone abundantly on the planet, so no one ever went hungry again. All traces of the previously genetically modified crops were destroyed, and advanced natural healthy methods of agriculture created a bounty of food production for everyone. These energy devices were used to help in the cleanup of the environment from the past abuse, with procedures which were previously considered too energy-intensive to use. Healthcare no longer operated as a profit-based business, and the pharmaceutical industry was replaced by the new sciences which understood the energetic nature of physical reality of our bodies and the consciousness interface with matter. These technologies treated the core origins rather than symptoms of disease, leading to a healthier society. An unbroken era of universal peace enabled the billions that were previously living in misery and poverty to enter a world of abundance, where the essential common basics of food, water and shelter at the least, became available to everyone. The vast resources in the past spent on wars are now directed to improving life for all living beings and creatures on this planet. As we continually evolved as a species, we were a long ways yet from perfection, but the fact that humanity chose to do the right thing for the good of all, instigated a giant step in progress toward a more happier and harmonious world for all to share. As society became more educated, prosperous and technologically advanced, women had taken an increasingly equal role in society, and it was found that the birth rates fell and the population stabilized, thus allowing every soul on the planet to live out their life without the concern of population issues. Over time, advanced genetics provided improved healthy Earth bodies for souls incarnating onto the planet. Less weaknesses in human DNA provided healthier, less disease-prone bodies that experience living a longer quality life on a planet which was transformed from the damages caused in the past to a beautiful paradise that the Earth was always meant to be. All weapons of mass destruction, including thermonuclear, chemical and biological, were immediately disposed of. Weapons with primitive bullet projectiles were phased out of existence, and being that the human race is in the processes of becoming a fully peaceful civilization, these were replaced with more advanced non-lethal type disabling weapons, if such an occasion ever arose for their use. As we evolved into a healthy cultural environment that did not promote violence, entertainment took on a refreshingly optimistic and more truly useful and formative nature. The news media, no longer being controlled by the past group's agenda, now gave honest, important information. Money and the use of secrecy no longer could be used for control and corruption, as the lessons of the past were well learned to never allow this to ever happen again. Science advanced exponentially in understanding our world and who we are. Education tapped the full potential of human resources and the powers of consciousness. As the population's consciousness expanded, so did the development of our spiritual gifts, such as telepathy, became common, therefore deception became more transparent and unacceptable. People started to live by the golden rule in how they treated each other. No longer was it that, the one who has the gold shall be entitled to make the rules in disregard for others. With the secrets disclosed and the corrupt elements removed in the world, living a peaceful existence with all peoples of the world, this opened up an interaction with other peaceful off-planet cultures. This exchange further greatly advanced humanity, and allowed it also to travel among the stars, and we then became welcomed by other peaceful civilizations throughout the cosmos. The children of the future, reading and understanding the great challenges the human race faced in the past on this planet, were filled with gratitude for the souls that helped usher in the world which they now live in. Imagine that. There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Victor Hugo.